150 million euros. That is the number now surrounding Julián Álvarez. And suddenly, one of football's most complete forwards has become the center of a massive transfer war. Real Madrid have been linked with him. Barcelona have been linked with him. Atletico Madrid do not want to lose him. And the question is simple: why does everyone want Julián Álvarez? This is not just a story about one player. This is a story about money, ambition, rivalry, and a striker who may now be worth far more than people expected. Julián Álvarez has never been the loudest superstar in football. He does not always create drama. He does not need attention every single week. But on the pitch, he gives every big club exactly what they want: energy, movement, pressing, goals, intelligence, and most importantly, a winning mentality. Before joining Atletico Madrid, Alvarez had already achieved what many footballers dream of for their entire career. He became a World Cup winner with Argentina. He won major trophies at Manchester City. He played under Pep Guardiola. He trained with world-class players. He played next to Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, and some of the best footballers in Europe. But even with all that success, many fans still believed he was underrated. At Manchester City, he was important, but he was not always the main man. Haaland was the superstar striker. De Bruyne was the creative genius. City's system was full of world-class talent. Alvarez helped the team win, but he was not always the face of the project. That is why his move to Atletico Madrid changed everything. At Atletico, Julián Álvarez was no longer just another talented forward. He became a central figure, a player Diego Simeone could build around, a striker with the work rate, mentality, and hunger that Atletico fans love. He does not just wait for the ball, he fights for it. He does not disappear when the game becomes difficult. He works even harder. And that is exactly why Atletico Madrid value him so highly. For Atletico, Alvarez is not just a striker, he is part of their identity. He gives the team energy, he gives them goals, he gives them pressure from the front, and he gives Simeone the kind of forward who can change the rhythm of a match. That is why Atletico are not expected to sell him easily. Because if they lose Julián Álvarez, they do not only lose a player, they lose a symbol of their project. But when a player reaches this level, the biggest clubs in the world start watching. And that is where the story becomes even bigger. Real Madrid have been connected with a huge move. Reports and statements around the situation have mentioned a number close to 150 million euros. For most players, that kind of money would be impossible to ignore. But this is not a normal transfer. But there is another reason why this transfer could become one of the biggest stories in football. Julián Álvarez is entering the prime years of his career. He already has experience at the highest level, but he still has time to become an even bigger global superstar. For a club willing to spend around 150 million euros, this would not simply be a purchase for one season. It would be an investment in a player who could lead an attack for years. And that is what makes Atletico Madrid's position so powerful. They know replacing Alvarez would be extremely difficult. Finding another forward with his combination of goals, pressing, intelligence, versatility, and experience would cost a fortune. So the real question is no longer whether Julián Álvarez is good enough for Europe's biggest clubs. He clearly is. The question is whether Real Madrid, Barcelona, or another European giant will be willing to make an offer so enormous that Atletico simply cannot refuse. If that happens, we could be looking at one of the most expensive transfers in football history. And the next chapter of Julián Álvarez's career could change the balance of power in European football.